Okay, as everyone's getting seated here, I was really looking forward to having this discussion today. Each one of these companies not only are impressive, but it's more impressive that they're not startups. It's not the newest craze, but they've been through the ups and the downs, and they've built something that lasts. So we want to just talk a little bit about that. And let's dive right in. One of the kind of pressing questions I have, you're in a competitive space, each one of you. Whether it's healthcare, entertainment, sports, real estate, whether it's entertainment from what do I do on my weekends, and there's a lot of ski resorts in Utah. Only one that gets 1-star reviews though. And then from hunting and outdoor apparel with Sitka gear, how do you differentiate your brand? How do you stand out amidst the against competition? And as you think about that long-term success, continuing to differentiate, continuing to stand out over time isn't easy. And I'd love for you to maybe each take a moment and kind of speak to that. Just those unique things that you offer and what allows you to stay ahead. Why don't we start here with David?
Not Dave, David, okay. Thanks for having me. When you think about that, it's probably, you think hard and think, man, what would that be? What should it be? The reality is probably pretty simple. Do the right thing and do it consistently, right? Do it every time. Be predictable. Innovate, but be predictable.
Love that. Thank you. Dave?
Well, I think speaking for Snowbird, it's easier to stand out and be unique because we have such a unique mountain that is one of the most challenging in North America. And the trick is to get comfortable with who we are and what we are, and it has not always been the case. When I became marketing director, I started as assistant director of public relations in 2000 and worked my way up, and for a lot of that time Dick Bass was our owner, and he really wanted us to be a family-friendly resort and attract families from around the world to come to Snowbird, and he insisted that Big Emma was a green run because we needed more green runs, and it was as simple as putting a green line on Big Emma. But then our customers would get out on Big Emma and realize that in order to groom that run, you had to hook a cable up to a snowcat. It was so steep. And they would get to the top of it and they would say, where is the green run? And we'd say, well, this is it according to Dick Bass. And it's, for us, standing out is knowing who you are, knowing what you are, and leaning into that and owning it, and we'll get more into that. But for us, that's the key, is not trying to be something we're not and being proud of what we are.
Oh, thank you.
I guess I'll go. Thanks for having me, Phil. For Sitka and a lot of places I've been in the consumer brand and consumer space and outdoor, it's meeting the customer and solving problems for them. If you can solve the customer problems and continue to do that, whether it be through innovation in product, innovation in customer experience, even rebirthing old consumer channels to meet them where they're buying and shopping at that time, has led to a lot of success for us.
So consistency, leaning in even when it's uncomfortable to who you are and what makes you stand out, and being able to meet the consumer where it's at and continuing to innovate as cultural and consumer preferences change. Love that. Let's talk a little bit about community. Engaging a community, and I don't just mean online or offline, but in all the ways. Building community is critical for brands. How do you actively participate and support communities? The communities that you're located in physically, online communities, relative to each one of your business. What does that look like to double down on your roots and those most loyal followers to you? Let's start with Dave on this one.
That's a really tricky question because at a place like Snowbird that operates year-round, we have a lot of different communities. We have the ski community, we have the summertime groups, we have Oktoberfest, we have our employee group, we have groups that you and I work with, like Wasatch Adaptive Sports. There are many, many communities, and one of the tricks is deciding where you're going to engage and do it all in and not try to be everything to everybody, because when you have 1,900 employees and you're high profile, you have a lot of requests to get involved in different issues and different things, and you really have to narrow your focus and say, okay, this is the area we want to focus on, and these are the places we're really going to engage. But there's never a shortage here in Salt Lake of ways to get involved in different issues, whether it's what's going on with the Great Salt Lake and how to get educated on that, how we can do our part to improve that, how we can help people with disabilities, how we can help people that might not have any opportunity to get in the mountains because of income or other issues. So there's no shortage, but it's really engaging and rewarding when you do, and people appreciate it.
For extra credit, be thinking about the question you want to ask Dave about why the Great Salt Lake matters so much to Snowbird. David, how about you?
You know, it's interesting when you said you may ask this question. We recently acquired 100 acres along North Temple on the west side of Salt Lake City, a very neglected, underserved part of the valley, and for a long time, and announced that we were forming a coalition to try to bring a Major League Baseball expansion team to Salt Lake and build a stadium on that land, about 9 acres of that 100. So when you think about the size of that land and what's going on in that area, there are a lot of voices, right? And people saying, you know, gentrification of the neighborhood, pushing out the residents that are there. So the way that we're engaging, which is really interesting, is embracing the culture that's already there and elevating it. The culture has always been in that neighborhood. It's very ethnically diverse, culturally diverse, religiously diverse. And so to embrace all of that and make it visible through investment and work on ways to, through our foundation, through the Larry J. and Gail Miller Family Foundation, invest in that community. Larry and Gail grew up in that area, went to West High School. And so it's full circle for them to come back and invest in that neighborhood. But it's kind of what we have done as a company through our 45-year history, is invest in making the community better. Gail will always say the community should be better because we were here, and we continue to do that every day.
What a great tribute to Larry H. Miller Corporation. Thank you. Matt, what about yourself?
Yeah, this is a fun one. There's a number of things that we're doing right now and evolving for the Sitka business that are making significant investments in building a very engaged, very loyal community. We've had one from the beginning, being at the
Yes,
pinnacle.
you have.
Yeah, being at the top of an industry that is very large, and the motivations for people participating in the sport of hunting are deep rooted in heritage and family and kind of personal experience. And so we kind of base our community engagement around 3 pillars. One of them being nurturing natural systems, which kind of has a sustainability lens to it. The other is expanding hunting opportunities, which brings more people into hunting from communities that may not have immediate access to it. And then the third is shared. What did I say? Shared stewardship. Expanding hunting opportunities, and man, I'm like I got it on my phone. Give me one sec. But with that, we fund shared stewardship, nurturing natural systems, which is improving environment and hunting land spaces, and encouraging the hunting experience. Yeah, expanding the hunting experience. So with that, those are we approach not just partnerships but community engagement. We also have a little-known grants program that puts about $500,000 a year into kind of each of those pillars to grow the community of hunters and people that share the outdoor experience. The other investment that we're making, is in our retail footprint. Similar, physical expansion allows you to touch a lot more people, and so we know that direct-to-consumer is our path to growth, and so digital can take you so far, but we're finding, like many brands, it's a lot more price-effective to acquire customers through brick-and-mortar retail. And so, Sitka's on a trajectory to continue doing that.
And that's interesting because we see big box, department stores struggling, and yet specialty stores and brands owned stores doing extremely well. I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about, it's hard in marketing to think about, we want to invest some dollars, but we need to show an immediate impact on the bottom line, or this month, or this quarter, or this week. It needs to look better. And so it's always that balance of, we have seasonal fluctuations in skiing. Snowbird makes most of the money, I'm sure, during certain times of the year. We have, a lot of seasonality, somewhat with entertainment and sports. So a lot of seasonality with hunting. How do you prioritize long-term brand sustainability over just short-term games? How do you, in your organizations, think long-term to say, how do we build a brand that lasts versus just trying to meet the demands of a CFO or a board or an owner in the short term?
I'll go.
Okay.
I have Travis here to back me up. Working with the car dealerships for many years, it's a 30-day cycle, right? Every month is a new month, and that last month is gone, and now you're on the next month. And so it was very, very focused on short term, like, let's meet our numbers this month, which is super important. And we like to look at it as, you call it sales overnight, brand over time. And that by, as I said, being consistent in your behavior over time, you do well in the short term, but you build over the long term. And one of the things that you look at what happened during the pandemic with the megaplex, with theaters, like we were closed, right? So how do you make money in a business that's not making movies and no one can go to movies? How do you stay in business? So being able to rely on our brand and the loyal following that we had, we sold popcorn and movie concessions at the curb and did incredibly well. It kept us in business during the pandemic. But it was because of the reputation that we had and the engagement we had with those customers to maintain that through a really hard time.
Great example. Dave?
Well, I think the best advice I can give is either work for the Miller family or the Cumming family so that you don't get that call that, oh no, the world is crashing, turn it around in 30 days. But we still have situations where we have to pivot quickly. We had one for April hotel occupancy with an early Easter business in the ski industry for overnight stays went off a cliff. So we had to pivot and spin up some marketing. But the key is to continue your authenticity. Don't divert from who you are. Use the same tone, use the same voice, so that it feels familiar, but it's a new opportunity for people. I think, as everybody's talking about, you've got to be who you are and choose good companies to work for, right? But that's one of the challenges in the ski industry is now there's all this consolidation, and you have companies like Vail that are publicly traded. So they're having to make short-term decisions and show short-term profitability to please Wall Street. And that changes how you behave in the ski business dramatically, because we do have up and downs. You do have low snow years. You have economic downturns. We had 9/11. You have these big events in your life or your career where it's highly, highly disruptive. So choose your employer well. It's my number one.
Good advice.
All of that's a great advice, because I kind of go back to what I said in the first question is know the customer, know what they want, what they look to you to solve for them. Being a technical apparel brand, we look to the field to be the champion of what the consumer need is. And so regardless of what's happening, if we're continuing to solve problems for the customer, we found the customer is going to keep coming back to us. I think, like any business, we are held to, growth expectations, and not growing is not fun. And so hunting is a very small little niche industry within even a little bit bigger niche industry of general outdoor. And so, how do we grow and maintain authenticity is taking the same lens that we took when we went to hunt. Is, hey, we're out in the elements. This sucks when we don't have good clothes. So let's solve problems that may not necessarily be in the hunt space, but solve it with that same lens. And so, for us, growing and meeting those growth expectations is category expansion. But doing so with the same intent and the same hyper focus on solving problems that don't exist in the marketplace, because that's what brought us our customers in the first place.
Oh, thank you. I want to dive a little bit deeper with each one of you on your individual organizations, starting with Snowbird. Tell us about the One Star campaign. How does it continue to benefit you, and what have you learned about just that experience over the last 5-6 years about your community?
So for those who aren't familiar with this, it was a campaign we did years ago, probably 8 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. And it was the first time that Snowbird, in a very publicly way, really leaned in to what we are and what we are not. And we used actual guest comments about their experience in Snowbird that were not necessarily positive to the experience if you were not a hardcore skier. But it really resonated with the hardcore powder, steep and deep skier.
Can you give us some examples?
Well, the main campaign was a shot we took up on Baldy on a super deep powder day, a Bluebird looking down Little Cottonwood Canyon, and it was a one-star campaign from an actual customer. We used his first name, and it talked about the lack of easy terrain or something like that. I can't remember the exact verbiage. And it was scary. When we looked at doing this concept, we had 3 concepts for that year. I was not president at the time, I was vice president, and our marketing director laid out all 3. And to his credit, my predecessor picked the one-star campaign, which we loved, but you've got something special when you're really nervous to launch it. And before that ad even ran in a newspaper, a trade publication got word of it and picked it up. It got picked up by Reddit that night, and we have never seen exposure like we had on Reddit for the next few months. But what it uncovered was this idea of being true to who you are and not trying to be someone you're not. And it not only resonated with our customers, but our employees were so excited. And still, you walk around the resort this many years later, and people have one-star T-shirts on and one-star stickers, and there were many copycat campaigns after that. And this year, we're up for more awards because we did a campaign that was the trail signs that are like beginner, intermediate, expert in green, blue, black, and then at the bottom we had a different breed in the Snowbird logo. And that really is in the same vein, meaning, yeah, you can go ski anywhere, but if you want a really unique experience, come to Snowbird. For the right person, it's heaven.
I think one of those reviews were, it's just too steep, or the terrain's too steep. And I think everybody's
Right.
dying saying, how do I get there?
And just for fun, we put that billboard up in the guy's neighborhood. I think he was in California. And we bought billboard space and put it up by his house because we have all that information. And just for a month, we ran it by his house. And he thought that was pretty cool.
That's the ultimate marketing dunk.
David, for you, Larry H. Miller has gone through a pretty dramatic transformation. You've gone from being known as, owners of the Jazz and the Bees and automotive dealerships to selling the automotive dealerships, selling the Jazz. And, although Major League Baseball's in the works, tell us about how that, reaching into real estate, healthcare, that major pivot, how you've stayed true to your values, how you've continued to uphold that brand of what Larry H. Miller represents in the community.
Yeah, it's been an interesting time. Travis said that he didn't quit, he got fired. So did I. And it wasn't the Larry H. Miller company that fired us. It was Asbury Automotive, the new owners of the dealerships. And, talk about a brand challenge. Sell part of your company to another company that's doing business in the same market as you and let them use your name. So there's Larry H. Miller dealerships out there today. We do not own them. We do not operate them. That created some challenges. But we really see ourselves, the Larry H. Miller Company, as a family investment firm. and really have embraced that in terms of what the family wants. And the family's still very much in charge. The family sits on our board of directors and still maintains the vision that Larry and Gail had from the very beginning. We have our mission, vision, and values, which haven't changed. And if we continue to operate that way, I mean, we have, for a long time, we were the 800-pound sports gorilla, right? And now there's another one. And so, and we don't own a major league sports team today, and he owns maybe 3, 2.5. And so it's been an interesting shift of culture for us, and to be able to stay focused on who we are as we pursue Major League Baseball and invest in the community. And we have the benefit of the Larry Jane Gilmore Family Foundation, who are very involved in many, many causes in the Valley, in the state. And we continue to invest in communities across the state. And then as we do business through our portfolio of companies, healthcare, sports, real estate, and a lot of investments, we just continue to do business the same way we've done for 45 years. And those principles apply. We recently launched a campaign back in April where we say at the heart and soul of the Larry H. Miller Company is the connection between people and the places they share. And that if you look at, we build places. We have sports venues, we have theaters, we have assisted living and skilled nursing facilities. And it isn't about the buildings. And those buildings have employees and people. It's really the interaction between the people in the place is where life happens. And embracing that and enriching lives in that space is what we've done and will always do.
Well, you've certainly done a lot as an organization to enrich Salt Lake, so thank you.
And as a marketer, jealous of the, maybe Snowbird's not for you. Love it.
For Sitka, you've kind of been, as you alluded to earlier, at the top of the heap. You kind of have a bullseye, so to speak, on you with a lot of the other hunting brands nipping at your tails or copying the new product and innovations that you're doing. Maybe just talk about that challenge of maintaining that position of being known as the hunting apparel brand, and as others have taken cues from you, how do you continue? You've alluded to a little bit of watching consumers, but what is that challenge like, and what are you doing to continuing to stay on top?
Yeah, there's we call them ankle biters in the office, but there's a lot of them, and they seem to spring up more and more frequently. We lead, I think the challenge of it, what's happening in the marketplace for Sitka, let's talk on that for a sec, is everything we do, you can almost set your clock by it. 30 days later, one of the competitors will do it after us. And I'm not kidding. We opened our Atlanta store. There was a new store in downtown Bozeman by one of our competitors almost 45 days later. When we launch a new colorway, 45 days later, there's a new colorway in market from one of our competitors in the exact same style within the exact same category. So it is a constant process for us to stay ahead. And how do we deal with challenges? It's innovation. We have to have the best, the brightest minds working on product, on user experience, on channel distribution. What are we going to be doing next year? I don't know. The digital marketplace is going to change in the next 12 months pretty dramatically with AI, and so I think we're doing everything we can to stay ahead of the industry from a product and a product innovation standpoint, but also, I've said this already, but we're trying to innovate. Where's the customer going to be? How are they going to find us? How are they going to engage with us? And I already mentioned it, but creating real life experiences, I think those have tremendous value for the user, especially the Sitka user. Probably more so, and definitely not your customers for sure. They're seeking that real life experience, but we are trying to move at the speed of the customer. It's one of the core tenets of our growth plan, is moving at the speed of the customer. And so on the innovation topic, for those of you that don't know, Sitka has is owned by Gore Technologies, which is the little company that makes Gore-Tex fabrics. And so having a direct line to the R&D teams and the innovation teams and the material sciences teams has absolutely been a key factor in us being able to stay ahead and bring solutions to market that nobody else can touch. And so, being at the top, we plan to stay on the top, and we know that there's a lot of other brands that can't do what we can do.
Thank you. I know our time is just about up. I wanted to ask each participant just any final words as you look ahead the next 5 to 10 years, 45 years with Larry H. Miller. What are any parting advice that you would give about how to build a brand that lasts?
What did Travis say? Work your ass off? Something like that? Yeah, and I love the idea of, working at the speed of the customer, staying ahead of the market. Talked earlier about AI, and if you're not using AI, you're behind already. But keeping your fingers on the pulse of the people, because I used to work in tech and never sold a computer to a machine, always sold it to a person. And so regardless of what you're doing, you have a customer who feels something. And are you connecting with them? And are you moving them? The way to move masses of people is one at a time. And so I would say continue to focus on the customer and where they want to be and be where they are. And that's not easy. We look at standing on the shoulders of those who went before us and honoring the past, but constantly looking to the future.
I love that just thought of emotionally connecting, being human, understanding that, you're building a relationship along the way. Thank you. Dave?
I would agree with everything David just said, but also making sure that your culture permeates your organization in a way that resonates with your employees. We launched an internal brand last year called Here for the Challenge. And for us, it's about acknowledging it's difficult to work in Little Cottonwood Canyon. In the 900-inch winter, we had 42 snow nights, which were 42 nights our employees had to sleep at the resort and get up the next morning and go to work. And it's not for everybody, but for those people, they are here for the challenge, and it's part of what makes it an exciting place to work. But you cannot deliver all of your goals and strategies without a group that's aligned with where you're going as a company. You have to take actions that they believe in, going back to community and sustainability. We get a lot more feedback from our employees than we do the community about the charitable giving or sustainability, things like that. Our employees want to work for a company that aligns with their beliefs and believes in them and gives them opportunities to grow. The trend with job hopping right now is really foreign to me. When I took over, there were 3 people who left our organization at the same time. And between those 3 people, they had spent 134 years working at Snowbird. And so we had this incredible string of longevity. And now people are coming in and going. They don't get promoted in 2 years, they're out. It's a really different world, so we're trying to adjust to that and retain people longer and hire the right people who believe in what we do.
So building a brand that lasts begins with having and building a team, a culture, an organization that's investing and communicating clearly that we're here to stay and we're investing in you.
That's right.
Final word, Matt?
Well, you set me up. These guys nailed it. I got to go last on that one. So echo it like to the top of the mountain. You guys nailed it. It's the customer, company culture. Those are foundational to building a successful, sustainable brand that's going to grow over time. Unique to the Sitka business and the challenges that face us is making sure hunting sticks around. We talked a little bit about community, but the work being done by us and by our community partners is measurable. It is legislative. It has an impact on people being able to experience the outdoors. And so we have to ensure that the opportunity to continue hunting and can continue enjoying wild spaces sticks around.
Let's give it up for some incredible brands. Thank you.